Bob Weir, founding guitarist of the Grateful Dead and a defining force of the hippie era, has died at the age of 78. Often described as the quiet backbone of the Grateful Dead, Bob Weir never sought to compete with the larger-than-life presence of Jerry Garcia. In fact, Weir later reflected that the near-mythical deification of Garcia by fans ultimately weighed heavily on the band's legendary frontman. Still, Weir became a fan favorite in his own right. Instantly recognizable for his laid-back charm, short jean shorts, and playful energy on stage. As the band's rhythm guitarist, Weir brought a rare level of precision and creativity to his role. His inventive chord voicings and unconventional timing helped bridge Garcia's extended exploratory solos with bassist Phil Lesh's fluid counter-melodies. Rather than simply strumming along, Weir often reassembled chords in unexpected ways, giving the Grateful Dead's live performances their distinctive, ever-evolving sound. Weir also co-wrote several of the band's most enduring songs, including Sugar Magnolia, Truckin', and Playing in the Band. These tracks became staples of the Dead's catalog and helped define their genre-blending mix of rock, blues, folk, and country. Central to the band's identity was improvisation, something Weir embraced wholeheartedly. As he once explained, the band would state a theme and take it for a walk in the woods, a philosophy that kept their music alive and unpredictable night after night. Born Robert Hall Weir, he was adopted as an infant and raised in the affluent town of Atherton near San Francisco. Struggling in school due to undiagnosed dyslexia, Weir found refuge in music, devoting himself to piano and guitar from a young age. At just 16, a chance encounter in a Palo Alto music store changed his life. He met Jerry Garcia, who was preparing to give banjo lessons. Their instant musical connection led to the formation of a jug band that would eventually evolve into the Grateful Dead in 1965. The band soon became the house musicians for author Ken Kesey's acid test LSD gatherings, placing them at the heart of the counterculture movement. As the hippie era flourished, the Grateful Dead became synonymous with peace, love, psychedelic experimentation, and opposition to the Vietnam War. Despite releasing only one major hit single, Touch of Grey in 1987, the Grateful Dead became one of the most successful touring bands in music history. Their fiercely loyal fan base, known as Deadheads, created a self-sustaining subculture that followed the band from city to city for decades, long after their commercial peak. Weir's personal life was also unconventional. He met the woman who would later become his wife when he was in his 30s, and she was a teenager who snuck backstage. He later clarified that their relationship was platonic at first, and the two did not marry until many years later. Reflecting on that period of his life, Weir said it wasn't until he was nearing 50 that he realized he no longer wanted to live as a rock and roll tomcat. Bob Weir leaves behind a towering musical legacy, not just as a founding member of the Grateful Dead, but as a musician who helped keep the spirit of improvisation, freedom, and countercultural creativity alive for generations. Bruce Bilson, the legendary director behind some of the most beloved TV shows in history, who passed away at the age of 97. Known for his sharp comedic timing and impeccable storytelling, Bilson left an indelible mark on the television industry over a career spanning more than 5 decades. Bilson, grandfather to actress Rachel Bilson, died peacefully at home in Los Angeles, according to his daughter, producer Julie Bilson Alberg. His passing marks the end of an era for classic television, as he was one of the last surviving directors from the golden age of episodic sitcoms. Throughout his extraordinary career, Bruce Bilson directed or assisted in over 400 episodes of some of TV's most iconic series. He began as an assistant director on The Andy Griffith Show, working on 58 episodes from 1960 to 1962, before moving to Route 66. By the mid-1960s, he had transitioned into directing, starting with The Baileys of Balboa, and quickly became a sought-after talent in Hollywood. He went on to direct multiple episodes of fan-favorite series, including The Patty Duke Show, Hogan's Heroes, Get Smart, for which he won an Emmy Award, Love, American Style, The Doris Day Show, and Please Don't Eat the Daisies. His directorial touch could be felt across many other shows, from The Odd Couple and Dynasty to single episodes of Dallas, Bonanza, Green Acres, Bewitched, and That Girl. Bilson also had a long-standing collaboration with Desilu Productions, the company founded by Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz. He directed the final episode of Life with Lucy, marking a significant moment in television history and cementing his legacy as a director who could handle both comedy and drama with ease. Born on May 19, 1928, in Brooklyn, New York, Bruce grew up in Los Angeles after his father, George Bilson, relocated the family for work at Warner Bros. He began working in the industry as a child extra at age 14, developing an early love for the craft. He later studied theater, editing, and camera work at UCLA, before serving 2 years in the U.S. Air Force. After returning, he fully immersed himself in Hollywood, quickly rising through the ranks from assistant director to Emmy-winning director. Off-screen, Bilson was known for his warmth, professionalism, and ability to form lasting relationships with cast and crew. In interviews, he often spoke about the importance of earning trust on set, explaining that every new show required him to prove himself while respecting the established dynamics of the production team. He is survived by his wife, Rena Jarrett, his screenwriter son, Danny Bilson, daughter Julie Bilson Allberg, and numerous grandchildren and great-grandchildren, including actress Rachel Bilson. His family remembers him as not only a brilliant director, but also a loving husband, father, grandfather, and mentor. Bruce Bilson's work touched millions of viewers and influenced generations of directors. From his Emmy-winning episodes to countless classic sitcoms, his legacy will live on in television history. His dedication to storytelling, combined with his keen eye for talent and timing, ensured that each show he touched became a memorable part of American culture. As Hollywood reflects on his incredible contributions, fans in Mumbai, Los Angeles, and around the world continue to celebrate the life of a man whose career shaped the face of modern television. Rest in peace, Bruce Bilson. Your vision, humor, and artistry will be remembered for generations to come. Rocco Commisso, the visionary founder, chairman, and CEO of Mediacom Communications, who passed away at the age of 76. Commisso, also owner of Italian soccer club Fiorentina, died after a prolonged period of medical treatment, according to Mediacom and Fiorentina, though the exact cause of death has not been disclosed. Born in Calabria, Italy, Commisso moved to the United States at the age of 12. He studied at Columbia University, where he played soccer, and his dedication to both sport and business would later define his extraordinary life. Columbia University later honored him by naming its soccer stadium after him, a testament to his lasting impact on the university community. Rocco Commisso built Mediacom Communications into one of the largest cable television and broadband companies in the United States, earning a place on the prestigious Forbes 400 list. His career in the cable television industry spanned nearly 50 years, and his entrepreneurial journey is celebrated as a shining example of the American dream. In addition to Mediacom, Commisso owned the New York Cosmos and Italian Serie A club Fiorentina, demonstrating a lifelong passion for soccer. His leadership extended beyond business into philanthropy, innovation, and mentorship, influencing countless individuals across industries. Commisso is survived by his wife Catherine and their 2 children, Giuseppe and Marisa. Funeral services will be held at St. Patrick's Cathedral, Manhattan, on January 21, 2026, at 10 a.m. ET. Industry leaders paid tribute to his remarkable life. Corey Gardner, NCTA president and CEO, said, "Rocco's entrepreneurial spirit and commitment to innovation inspired many. His influence will be felt for years to come." Jim Gleason, chairman of the board, Cable TV Pioneers, added, "Rocco was such a presence in our industry. His story was the true American dream, having come to this country as a young newcomer from Italy and then rising to the top of the American business and financial peak." Rocco Commisso's legacy is not only in the businesses he built, but in the lives he touched, the teams he supported, and the inspiration he provided to entrepreneurs around the globe. From his humble beginnings in Italy to the pinnacle of American business and sports, Commisso's story remains a testament to resilience, vision, and determination. He will be remembered as a true pioneer, a passionate leader, and a visionary whose influence stretched far beyond cable TV and soccer fields. Rest in peace, Rocco Commisso. Floyd Vivino, better known as Uncle Floyd, who passed away at the age of 74 on January 22, 2026, following a 2.5-year battle with ongoing health issues. His brother, Jerry Vivino, announced the news on social media, writing, "Rest in peace, Big Brother. You will be missed, but always remembered by friends, family, and your loving fans." Born in Paterson, New Jersey, in 1951, Vivino grew up in a musical family. His brothers, Jimmy and Jerry, went on to become accomplished musicians, a guitarist and a saxophonist, while Floyd carved out a unique path in comedy and television. Vivino's career skyrocketed when he pitched a show to United Artists Cable Communications in the early 1970s. With a bit of ingenuity and a small fib about having previously hosted a TV show, he launched The Uncle Floyd Show, which premiered on January 29, 1974. What started as a low-budget, local variety program quickly became a cult classic across New Jersey and parts of New York, airing until 2001. The show's quirky mix of comedy sketches, puppetry, musical performances, and offbeat humor earned it a dedicated fan base. Its charm drew not just local viewers but also rock legends like David Bowie, John Lennon, the Ramones, John Bon Jovi, and Cyndi Lauper. Bowie once recalled that fans of all ages would rush home to watch the show on UHF Channel 68, which looked like it was done out of his living room in New Jersey, but had the charm and appeal of classic children's TV. Despite modest production values, The Uncle Floyd Show became a rite of passage for musicians and entertainers. High-profile guests graced the set, while Vivino's infectious energy and signature pork pie hat made him a local and national icon. His live performances continued long after the show ended, with Floyd performing hundreds of comedy shows a year across New Jersey and hosting musical comedy revues, such as Uncle Floyd's Wild West Show. Even after suffering a stroke in late 2023, Vivino's presence remained strong. Fans could still enjoy weekly live-stream watch parties featuring classic clips, hosted by his friend Scott Gordon, keeping his legacy alive in the digital age. Uncle Floyd's influence on New Jersey entertainment is immeasurable. From cult TV fame to live comedy performances, film appearances like Good Morning Vietnam, and TV roles including Law and Order, Floyd Vivino remained a beloved figure who brought humor, music, and joy to generations of fans. His passing marks the end of a legendary career spanning more than 5 decades, but his work, energy, and unique brand of humor will continue to resonate. Uncle Floyd was not just a performer. He was an institution in New Jersey culture, a mentor to younger entertainers, and a cherished figure to fans who grew up laughing and singing along with him. Rest in peace, Uncle Floyd Vivino. Your legacy of laughter, music, and irreverent fun will live on forever. Barack Hussein Obama II was born on August 4, 1961, at Kapiolani Medical Center in Honolulu, Hawaii, making him the only U.S. president born outside the contiguous 48 states. His birth already represented a unique cultural crossroads. His mother, Ann Dunham, was a young American from Kansas with European ancestry, while his father, Barack Obama Sr., was a Kenyan economist from the Luo ethnic group. The two met while studying Russian at the University of Hawaii and married in early 1961, just months before Barack's birth. Obama's early childhood was shaped by separation and movement. His parents divorced when he was just 2 years old, and his father returned to Kenya to pursue further education and government work. Barack would see his father only once more, during a brief visit in 1971, before his tragic death in a car accident in 1982. Raised primarily by his mother and maternal grandparents, Obama grew up navigating questions of identity from a very young age, later reflecting on what it meant to be biracial in America and how those experiences quietly shaped his worldview. In 1965, his mother remarried Lolo Sotoro, an Indonesian graduate student. Soon afterward, Obama moved with his family to Jakarta, Indonesia, where he spent several formative years. Living in Southeast Asia exposed him to poverty, political instability, and cultural diversity, broadening his perspective far beyond typical American childhood experiences. He attended local schools and learned about resilience firsthand, watching his mother stress the importance of education despite limited resources. These early years, split between Hawaii and Indonesia, instilled in Obama a deep sense of global awareness and adaptability. They laid the foundation for his later interest in public service, social justice, and international cooperation, shaping the character of the man who would eventually rise to lead the United States. After returning from Indonesia, Barack Obama moved back to Hawaii, where he was raised by his grandparents and attended Puna House School. Growing up, he became increasingly aware of racial identity and social inequality, experiences that deeply influenced his outlook on life. He later moved to Los Angeles to study at Occidental College before transferring to Columbia University in New York, where he earned a degree in political science in 1983. Following graduation, Obama worked in New York for a short time before relocating to Chicago, where he became a community organizer. There, he worked with churches to help improve living conditions in low-income neighborhoods, focusing on job training and housing. This period shaped his commitment to public service and strengthened his belief in grassroots activism as a path to meaningful change. After several years working as a community organizer on Chicago's South Side, Barack Obama realized that lasting change required influence inside the legal and political system. In 1988, he enrolled at Harvard Law School, entering one of the most competitive academic environments in the country. Almost immediately, he stood out, not only for his intellect, but for his calm leadership style and ability to bridge ideological divides. In 1990, Obama made history by becoming the first African-American president of the Harvard Law Review, one of the most prestigious legal journals in the United States. His election drew national attention and marked his arrival on the broader political stage. Media outlets across the country highlighted his achievement, portraying him as a rising star with rare promise. Despite the attention, Obama remained focused on his studies and graduated magna cum laude in 1991. After Harvard, Obama returned to Chicago, choosing public service over lucrative corporate law opportunities. He worked as a civil rights attorney, fighting cases related to housing discrimination and voting rights, while also teaching constitutional law at the University of Chicago Law School. His dual role as lawyer and professor allowed him to combine practical activism with academic thought, sharpening both his legal reasoning and his public speaking skills. In 1992, Obama played a key role in organizing voter registration drives for Bill Clinton's presidential campaign in Illinois, helping bring tens of thousands of new voters, many from minority communities, into the political process. Around this time, he also met Michelle Robinson, a fellow attorney. The two married in 1992 and would later have two daughters, Malia and Sasha, building a family life alongside Obama's growing public career. By the mid-1990s, Obama felt ready to run for office himself. In 1996, he was elected to the Illinois State Senate, representing Chicago's 13th district. During his time in the state legislature, he worked across party lines to pass ethics reforms, expand healthcare access for low-income families, and strengthen early childhood education programs. Though Illinois politics could be rough and deeply partisan, Obama developed a reputation as a thoughtful negotiator who preferred compromise over confrontation. His work in Springfield helped refine his political identity, pragmatic, reform-minded, and focused on unity rather than division. Yet Obama also experienced frustration with entrenched political systems and slow-moving change. These challenges strengthened his resolve and pushed him toward higher office. In 2004, Obama launched a campaign for the U.S. Senate. What truly transformed his career was his keynote address at the Democratic National Convention that same year. His speech centered on hope, shared values, and the idea that there is not a liberal America or conservative America, but a United States of America, captivated millions. Overnight, Obama became a national figure. He went on to win the Senate race in a landslide, becoming only the third African American elected to the U.S. Senate since Reconstruction. Arriving in Washington in 2005, Obama quickly gained attention for his speeches on ethics reform, government transparency, and foreign policy. His 2006 book, The Audacity of Hope, became a bestseller, further elevating his public profile and fueling speculation about a future presidential run. By this point, Barack Obama had evolved from a community organizer into one of the most talked-about babas. In early 2007, Barack Obama officially announced his candidacy for President of the United States. At the time, he was still a relatively new U.S. Senator, and many political insiders considered his campaign a long shot. He faced powerful competitors within his own Democratic Party, most notably Hillary Clinton, who entered the race with strong establishment support, extensive experience, and widespread name recognition. Obama's campaign, however, quickly gained momentum by focusing on themes of hope, unity, and change. His message resonated deeply with younger voters, independents, and communities who felt disconnected from traditional politics. Using innovative digital organizing strategies and grassroots fundraising, his team built one of the most sophisticated political movements in modern American history. Millions of small donors contributed online, allowing Obama to compete financially without relying heavily on corporate or elite political backing. The Democratic primary became one of the most intense and closely watched contests in decades. Obama and Clinton battled state by state, with Obama steadily accumulating delegates through strong performances in caucuses and key primary victories. His ability to inspire first-time voters and mobilize volunteers proved decisive. After months of campaigning, Clinton conceded in June 2008, and Obama became the Democratic nominee. He selected Joe Biden, a veteran senator from Delaware with extensive foreign policy experience, as his running mate, balancing Obama's relative youth with Biden's political depth. The general election campaign unfolded against the backdrop of the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. As major banks collapsed and unemployment surged, Obama emphasized economic recovery, financial reform, and support for struggling middle-class families. His calm, measured response to the crisis contrasted with Republican nominee John McCain's more erratic approach, strengthening Obama's appeal as a steady leader. Throughout the campaign, Obama delivered massive rally speeches across the country, drawing crowds of tens of thousands. His rhetoric focused on restoring America's standing abroad, ending the war in Iraq responsibly, expanding healthcare, and rebuilding the economy. Despite facing racially charged attacks and persistent misinformation, Obama remained disciplined, rarely engaging in personal disputes and consistently returning to policy-driven messaging. On November 4, 2008, Barack Obama won the presidential election in a decisive victory, securing 365 electoral votes to McCain's 173, and earning nearly 53% of the popular vote. At 47 years old, he became the youngest president since John F. Kennedy, and the first African-American president in U.S. history. That night, standing before a massive crowd in Chicago's Grant Park, Obama delivered a victory speech that would become iconic. He spoke of generations of struggle, the long arc of progress, and the belief that America's best days still lay ahead. For many, his election symbolized a profound shift in the nation's story, proof that barriers once thought unbreakable could indeed fall. Just weeks later, Obama was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2009, citing his efforts to strengthen international diplomacy and cooperation. The decision sparked debate worldwide, as he had not yet completed a full year in office, but it underscored the global expectations placed upon his presidency. With soaring public optimism and enormous challenges ahead, Barack Obama prepared to take office amid economic turmoil, ongoing wars, and a deeply divided political landscape, marking the beginning of one of the most consequential presidencies of the 21st century. Barack Obama was inaugurated as the 44th President of the United States on January 20, 2009, before a crowd of nearly 2 million people in Washington, D.C., with millions more watching around the world. He took office during one of the darkest economic moments in modern history. The United States was losing hundreds of thousands of jobs per month. Major banks had collapsed, and global markets were in free fall. Obama's immediate priority was stabilizing the economy and preventing a deeper depression. Within weeks of entering office, he signed the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act of 2009, a nearly $800 billion stimulus package aimed at saving jobs, investing in infrastructure, expanding unemployment benefits, and supporting state governments. Though controversial, economists later credited the program with helping pull the U.S. out of recession and restarting economic growth. Obama also oversaw the rescue of the American auto industry, preventing the collapse of General Motors and Chrysler, moves that were politically risky but ultimately preserved millions of jobs. On the global stage, Obama worked to restore America's diplomatic standing after years of war and strained alliances. He emphasized multilateral cooperation, delivered a major speech in Cairo aimed at improving relations with Muslim-majority countries, and committed to reducing nuclear weapons. His administration formally ended U.S. combat operations in Iraq in 2011, fulfilling a central campaign promise. One of the defining achievements of Obama's first term was healthcare reform. After decades of failed attempts by previous administrations, Obama pushed through the Affordable Care Act, ACA, in 2010, often called Obamacare. The law expanded health insurance coverage to millions of Americans, protected people with pre-existing conditions, allowed young adults to stay on their parents' plans, and created online insurance marketplaces. The legislation passed without a single Republican vote and faced fierce political opposition, legal challenges, and public skepticism, but it became one of the most significant social reforms since Medicare. Obama also signed the Dodd-Frank Wall Street Reform and Consumer Protection Act, introducing sweeping regulations on financial institutions to prevent another economic collapse. The law created the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and imposed stricter oversight on banks and investment firms. In foreign policy, Obama authorized Operation Neptune Spear in May 2011, which resulted in the killing of Osama bin Laden in Pakistan. The successful raid brought symbolic closure to the September 11 attacks and marked a major moment in Obama's presidency. At the same time, his administration increased the use of drone strikes and special forces operations, shifting U.S. military strategy towards smaller, targeted interventions rather than large-scale ground wars. Domestically, Obama appointed Sonia Sotomayor and Elena Kagan to the Supreme Court, reshaping the judiciary and making Sotomayor the first Hispanic justice in U.S. history. His administration also repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell, allowing LGBTQ+ individuals to serve openly in the military. Despite these accomplishments, Obama faced intense resistance from Republicans, particularly after the Tea Party movement helped flip control of the House of Representatives in the 2010 midterm elections. Political gridlock became common, limiting progress on immigration reform, gun legislation, and climate policy. Still, Obama continued advocating for clean energy investment, student loan reform, and equal pay for women. By the end of his first term, the economy had stabilized, unemployment was falling, and millions had gained health coverage. But the country remained deeply polarized. Obama entered the 2012 election defending a bold record while confronting critics who argued his reforms went too far. His presidency had already reshaped America's political landscape, and the most challenging battles were still ahead. Barack Obama began his second term in January 2013 after defeating Republican challenger Mitt Romney in the 2012 election. His victory confirmed public support for his leadership during economic recovery and affirmed key elements of his first-term agenda, particularly healthcare reform. Yet Obama entered his second term facing an even more divided Congress, with Republicans maintaining control of the House and Democrats holding a narrow Senate majority. Legislative compromise became increasingly difficult, forcing Obama to rely more heavily on executive action to advance his priorities. One of the earliest defining moments of Obama's second term followed the tragic Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in December 2012. The massacre deeply affected the nation and prompted Obama to push for expanded background checks and gun safety reforms. Despite strong public support, Congress failed to pass comprehensive gun legislation, underscoring the limits of presidential influence amid political polarization. Still, Obama issued executive orders aimed at improving gun safety and expanding mental health services. Climate change became one of Obama's central focuses during his second term. Recognizing congressional resistance, he turned to regulatory action, introducing the Clean Power Plan, which sought to reduce carbon emissions from power plants and accelerate the transition toward renewable energy. In 2015, Obama played a major role in securing the Paris Climate Agreement, a landmark global accord in which nearly every country pledged to combat climate change. This positioned the United States as a leader in environmental diplomacy and marked one of Obama's most significant international achievements. On the foreign policy front, Obama pursued diplomatic engagement over military confrontation whenever possible. In 2015, his administration negotiated the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action (JCPOA) with Iran, limiting Iran's nuclear program in exchange for sanctions relief. The deal was praised by supporters as a major non-proliferation success and criticized by opponents who argued it empowered Iran. Around the same time, Obama formally normalized diplomatic relations with Cuba, reopening embassies and easing travel restrictions after more than 5 decades of hostility. Obama also expanded sanctions against Russia following its 2014 annexation of Crimea and later in response to Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. presidential election. Meanwhile, he authorized renewed military operations in Iraq and Syria to combat the rise of ISIS, relying heavily on airstrikes and coalition forces rather than large U.S. troop deployments. Social progress accelerated during Obama's second term. In 2015, the Supreme Court ruled in Obergefell v. Hodges that same-sex marriage was legal nationwide, a decision Obama publicly celebrated, becoming the first sitting U.S. president to openly support marriage equality. His administration also advanced protections for transgender students, promoted criminal justice reform, and commuted the sentences of hundreds of nonviolent drug offenders. Healthcare implementation continued despite political opposition. Millions more Americans enrolled under the Affordable Care Act, and by the end of Obama's presidency, the uninsured rate had fallen to historic lows. Though the ACA remained controversial, it fundamentally reshaped the U.S. healthcare system. Economically, Obama presided over steady growth. Unemployment dropped below 5%, the stock market reached record highs, and the auto industry rebounded strongly. While wage inequality remained a concern, the overall recovery marked a dramatic turnaround from the crisis he inherited. As his presidency drew to a close, Obama emphasized unity, democratic values, and civic responsibility. In his farewell address in January 2017, he reflected on progress made while urging Americans to remain engaged in protecting democracy. He left office with high approval ratings both domestically and internationally, regarded by many historians as a transformative figure who reshaped modern liberal governance. Obama's legacy was defined by resilience in crisis, landmark reforms, and an effort to steer America toward inclusivity and global cooperation, while navigating one of the most polarized political eras in modern history. After leaving office in January 2017, Barack Obama transitioned from political leader to global statesman, author, and cultural figure. Rather than retreating from public life, he remained actively engaged in shaping conversations around democracy, leadership, climate change, and social justice. Obama and his family settled in Washington, D.C., becoming the first former presidential family in decades to remain in the capital, a decision reflecting his ongoing involvement in national affairs. One of Obama's first major post-presidency moves was a landmark production deal with Netflix through Higher Ground Productions, a company he founded with Michelle Obama. Their goal was to create films, documentaries, and series that highlighted underrepresented voices and meaningful stories. Projects like American Factory, which won an Academy Award, demonstrated Obama's continued commitment to education, labor issues, and global perspectives. Writing also became a major focus. In 2020, Obama released A Promised Land, the first volume of his presidential memoirs. The book became an instant bestseller worldwide, offering readers an intimate look at his upbringing, political rise, and early years in the White House. Unlike traditional political memoirs, Obama blended personal reflection with policy insight, discussing everything from family life to the moral weight of military decisions. Earlier books such as Dreams from My Father and The Audacity of Hope also saw renewed popularity as readers revisited his journey. Through the Obama Foundation, he expanded leadership programs across Africa, Europe, Asia, and the United States, aiming to empower young people to become agents of change in their communities. A centerpiece of this effort is the Obama Presidential Center, under construction on Chicago's South Side. Designed as a modern civic campus rather than a traditional presidential library, the center will focus on community development, youth leadership, and public engagement. Politically, Obama has remained influential while avoiding daily partisan battles. He endorsed and actively campaigned for Joe Biden during the 2020 presidential election, playing a visible role in helping Democrats reclaim the White House. Since then, he has continued supporting candidates nationwide, especially during midterm and local elections, emphasizing voter participation and democratic norms. On the international stage, Obama remains a respected voice. He regularly speaks at global forums, universities, and leadership summits, advocating for climate action, democratic institutions, and cooperation between nations. His speeches often stress the dangers of misinformation, authoritarianism, and political apathy, while encouraging young generations to stay engaged. Personal life has also taken center stage. Obama frequently shares moments with Michelle, daughters Malia and Sasha, and close friends, presenting a more relaxed public image, one marked by humor, playlists, book recommendations, and candid reflections. His annual summer reading and music lists have become cultural events, shaping trends far beyond politics. Historians continue to debate Obama's long-term legacy, but most agree on several defining achievements: expanding healthcare access, stabilizing the economy after the Great Recession, restoring America's global standing, advancing civil rights, and demonstrating that leadership can be grounded in empathy and intellect. As the first African-American president, his election alone marked a profound milestone in U.S. history, inspiring millions worldwide. Today, Barack Obama stands not only as a former president, but as a symbol of possibility. Someone who rose from community organizing to the highest office in the land, then chose to spend his post-presidency nurturing future leaders rather than seeking personal power. His story continues to evolve, shaped less by titles and more by influence, reminding people that public service does not end when a term expires. It simply takes a new form. Barack Obama's leadership style was widely recognized for its calm demeanor, intellectual rigor, and emphasis on dialogue over confrontation. Unlike many political figures who relied on fiery rhetoric or populist appeals, Obama favored thoughtful, measured communication. He often approached problems analytically, drawing on his background as a constitutional law professor and community organizer. This methodical style earned him admiration for composure under pressure, especially during crises like the Great Recession, the Ebola outbreak, and complex foreign policy challenges, but also criticism from opponents who felt he was overly cautious or slow to act. At the core of Obama's personal philosophy was the belief that lasting change comes through collective effort. He frequently emphasized empathy, compromise, and civic responsibility, arguing that democracy works best when citizens actively participate rather than waiting for leaders to solve everything. His famous campaign slogan, "Yes, we can," reflected this worldview. Progress was not the achievement of one man, but the result of millions working together. Throughout his presidency, he encouraged Americans, especially young people, to volunteer, vote, and engage in their communities. Obama also placed strong emphasis on inclusivity and diversity. His administration was among the most diverse in U.S. history, and he consistently spoke about the importance of bridging racial, cultural, and economic divides. His public support for same-sex marriage in 2012 marked a pivotal moment for LGBTQ+ rights in America, signaling a broader shift in national attitudes. He framed civil rights not as special privileges, but as fundamental American values. Despite widespread popularity, Obama's presidency was not without controversy. Conservatives criticized his expansion of executive power, healthcare reform, and environmental regulations, arguing they increased government overreach. Progressives, meanwhile, sometimes felt disappointed by what they saw as compromises with Wall Street, limited criminal justice reform, and continued military engagements abroad. His use of drone strikes and surveillance programs drew international scrutiny, while the instability following interventions in Libya and Syria raised questions about U.S. foreign policy strategy. Domestically, partisan gridlock often restricted his legislative ambitions, particularly after Republicans gained control of Congress. Obama frequently expressed frustration with Washington's polarization, noting that meaningful compromise became increasingly rare. Still, he managed to secure landmark achievements such as the Affordable Care Act, the Iran nuclear agreement, normalization of relations with Cuba, and the Paris Climate Accord. each reflecting his preference for diplomacy and multilateral cooperation. In historical rankings, Obama is generally placed in the upper tier of U.S. presidents by scholars and political scientists. He is credited with guiding the country out of a devastating economic collapse, expanding healthcare to millions, restoring America's image abroad after years of war, and breaking a racial barrier that once seemed insurmountable. At the same time, analysts note unfinished goals in areas like income inequality, immigration reform, and racial justice. Culturally, Obama's impact extends far beyond policy. His presidency reshaped perceptions of leadership, showing that intelligence, restraint, and emotional awareness could coexist with authority. His speeches, particularly moments like the 2004 Democratic National Convention, the Charleston Church Eulogy, and his farewell address, remain widely studied for their rhetorical power and moral clarity. Today, Barack Obama is remembered not just as a former president, but as a transformative figure in modern American history. His journey from a mixed-race child in Hawaii to the Oval Office represents a uniquely American story, one grounded in education, perseverance, and belief in democratic ideals. While debates about his legacy will continue for decades, his influence on politics, culture, and global discourse is undeniable. After leaving the White House in January 2017, Barack Obama transitioned into life as a former president while remaining highly active on the global stage. Rather than stepping away from public life, he continued shaping conversations around democracy, leadership, and social progress. Alongside Michelle Obama, he founded the Obama Foundation, focused on developing young leaders across the world and strengthening civic engagement through programs like the Obama Leaders Initiative. Their work emphasizes values Obama promoted throughout his presidency: community service, ethical leadership, and empowering the next generation. Obama also expanded his influence through media and literature. His memoir, A Promised Land, released in 2020, offered an in-depth reflection on his early life, political rise, and first presidential term, providing readers with behind-the-scenes insight into major decisions and personal struggles. The book became an international bestseller, reinforcing his reputation as one of the most articulate political figures of his era. Through Higher Ground Productions, the media company he co-founded with Michelle, Obama has helped produce documentaries, films, and series that explore themes of justice, identity, history, and resilience, extending his impact far beyond politics. Politically, Obama has remained engaged, campaigning for Democratic candidates and playing a visible role in Joe Biden's successful 2020 presidential run. While careful not to overshadow current leaders, he frequently speaks out on issues such as voting rights, climate change, and democratic norms. His warnings about political extremism and misinformation have resonated widely, especially during periods of heightened polarization in the United States. Internationally, he continues to be welcomed as a respected statesman, delivering speeches and participating in forums focused on global cooperation and leadership. Obama's long-term legacy is often framed around three defining pillars: representation, reform, and rhetoric. As the first African-American president, he symbolized a major milestone in America's ongoing struggle with race and equality, inspiring millions around the world who saw in his story the possibility of overcoming structural barriers. In terms of reform, his administration reshaped healthcare, financial regulation, and climate policy, leaving institutional changes that continue to affect daily life for millions of Americans. His rhetorical legacy, marked by optimism, empathy, and intellectual clarity, helped restore a sense of dignity and civility to the presidency for many observers. Historians increasingly view Obama as a stabilizing leader during a period of global uncertainty, crediting him with restoring economic confidence after the Great Recession and prioritizing diplomacy over unilateral military action. At the same time, scholars acknowledge unresolved challenges during his tenure, including persistent income inequality, racial tensions, and geopolitical instability. Yet even critics often recognize his commitment to democratic values and his effort to govern with integrity in an era of rising division. Barack Obama's life story stands as one of the most remarkable journeys in modern history, a narrative shaped by resilience, intellect, and an unwavering belief in possibility. From his multicultural childhood in Hawaii and Indonesia to the halls of Harvard Law School, and ultimately to the Oval Office, Obama's rise reflects both personal determination and the evolving identity of America itself. He entered public life not as a career politician, but as a community organizer driven by a desire to uplift struggling neighborhoods, a foundation that continued to guide his leadership at every stage. As president, Obama governed during one of the most challenging periods in recent history, inheriting a nation shaken by economic collapse and prolonged wars. Through steady leadership, he helped stabilize financial markets, expand healthcare access to millions, restore America's standing abroad, and promote climate action on a global scale. His approach favored diplomacy over aggression, collaboration over confrontation, and inclusion over division. While his presidency faced criticism and limitations, as all do, his commitment to democratic values, equality, and thoughtful governance left an unmistakable imprint on the country. Yet Obama's legacy extends far beyond legislation or executive orders. He changed what many people believed was possible. For millions, especially young people in communities long underrepresented in leadership, his election symbolized hope and progress. His speeches inspired civic engagement, his calm demeanor modeled empathy in leadership, and his family offered a powerful image of dignity and unity on the world stage. Together with Michelle Obama, he reshaped the cultural perception of the presidency, blending intellectual depth with authenticity and warmth. In his post-presidential years, Obama has continued to influence global conversations through writing, public speaking, philanthropy, and media. His efforts to nurture future leaders through the Obama Foundation reflect a long-term vision focused not on personal legacy, but on empowering others. Even outside office, his voice carries weight, reminding people of the importance of truth, participation, and responsibility in sustaining democracy. History will continue to debate specific policies and outcomes, but Barack Obama's broader impact is undeniable. He represented a turning point in American politics, demonstrating that leadership rooted in hope, discipline, and respect can still resonate in an increasingly complex world. His story serves as a reminder that progress is rarely perfect or immediate, but it is built through persistence, dialogue, and courage. Ultimately, Barack Obama will be remembered not only as the 44th President of the United States, but as a symbol of possibility, a leader who rose from humble beginnings to global prominence while carrying with him a simple yet powerful message that ordinary people, working together, can shape extraordinary change. Barack Hussein Obama II was born on August 4, 1961, in Honolulu, Hawaii, to Ann Dunham, an American anthropologist, and Barack Obama Sr., a Kenyan economist. His early life was marked by a multicultural and transnational upbringing. Shortly after his birth, his mother moved with him to Seattle, Washington, while his father returned to Kenya to pursue graduate studies at Harvard. His parents divorced in 1964, and his father remarried several times before his death in a car accident in 1982, having only visited Obama once during his childhood. In 1965, Ann Dunham married Lolo Soetoro, an Indonesian student, and the family moved to Jakarta, Indonesia in 1967. Obama spent his formative years in Indonesia, attending local schools and being exposed to a culture and environment vastly different from Hawaii. He learned to speak some Indonesian and experienced firsthand the social and economic inequalities in developing countries. This period helped him develop empathy, cultural awareness, and adaptability, traits that would later define his leadership style. In 1971, Obama returned to Honolulu to live with his maternal grandparents, Stanley and Madeline Dunham, where he attended Punahou School, one of Hawaii's most prestigious private schools. As a child and teenager, Obama excelled academically, showing an early aptitude for reading, writing, and analytical thinking. However, he also faced challenges reconciling his multicultural heritage, often reflecting on his identity as a biracial child in predominantly white and black communities. These experiences shaped his ability to understand complex social dynamics and connect with people from diverse backgrounds. During high school, Obama became more politically aware, developing an interest in social justice and activism. He engaged in community service projects and began reading extensively about civil rights, politics, and history. His formative years in Hawaii and Indonesia provided him with a unique worldview, blending Eastern and Western perspectives, which later informed his political ideology and diplomatic approach. After graduating from Punahou School in 1979, Obama attended Occidental College in Los Angeles for 2 years, where he began exploring political activism and social issues. He later transferred to Columbia University in New York City, graduating in 1983 with a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science, focusing on international relations. During this time, he became increasingly interested in community work, social justice, and economic disparities in urban America. After graduation, Obama moved to Chicago, where he worked as a community organizer in the South Side, helping low-income neighborhoods address issues such as job training, housing, and local development projects. His work involved coordinating grassroots campaigns, mediating disputes, and mobilizing residents to advocate for themselves. These early experiences in community organizing taught him the value of listening, collaboration, and incremental progress, skills that would later define his political career. In 1988, Obama enrolled in Harvard Law School, where he quickly distinguished himself academically. He became the first Black president of the Harvard Law Review, a prestigious position that showcased his legal acumen, leadership, and ability to navigate complex institutional politics. His experiences at Harvard also allowed him to build connections and networks that would support his future political endeavors. After graduating in 1991, Obama returned to Chicago, where he worked as a civil rights attorney, specializing in voting rights and discrimination cases. He also served as a lecturer in constitutional law at the University of Chicago Law School, where he taught courses on civil rights and legal theory. During this period, Obama deepened his understanding of law, governance, and public policy while maintaining strong ties to local communities. By the mid-1990s, Obama had established himself as a respected community leader and emerging political figure. In 1996, he was elected to the Illinois State Senate, representing the 13th District. His early legislative work focused on healthcare, ethics reform, and economic development, reflecting his continued commitment to improving the lives of ordinary Americans.